few housekeeping bits before we get started. John wanted me to remind everyone that if you are looking to get continuing education credits, to shop by the table, the forms are out there before you leave today. Also with the conference evaluation, if you don't mind, fill those out, drop them off, we appreciate that. And I would like to introduce to you Stephen Taylor. He is going to be our presenter this afternoon. Hopefully, I'll learn as much as I've heard. Stephen Taylor is an instructional technology facilitator at Onslow County Schools. He is a graduate of East Carolina with a master's degree in instructional technology. He currently spends the majority of his time integrating technology into the classrooms of Dixon High School. At the school level, he has overseen the implementation of nationally recognized Project Connect using smartphones and Alpha One. He has also designed a student and teacher information management system used at Dixon High School to promote enhanced productivity through the effective use of digital technologies. He has designed resources used countywide to assist in the transition to the new Common Core curriculum. At the county level, he has conducted numerous trainings focusing on the development of the 21st century classroom, both for teachers and administrators. He developed a countywide training for North Carolina WISE, or NC-WISE, and coordinated the training at 37 sites across the county. He has also presented at several regional conferences, including Onslow County Schools Summer Institute on Technology, the Southeastern Regional Superintendent's Meeting, and the Curriculum and Instruction Academy. Please welcome Stephen Taylor. All right, well, good afternoon, everybody. And as you can see, I just could not stay up on the stage. I'm used to being in class. So I'm going to walk around as much as I possibly can. What I wanted to talk with you today about was integrating technology in the classroom, and everybody talks a lot about that. But I want to talk a little bit today about trying to increase productivity with the teachers. So often, what we do is we ask our teachers to do more and more, and they have less and less time. But one of the things we've kind of failed to do across education is to use the technology tools to increase productivity, taking some of those more routine responsibilities out of their hands so they have more time for teaching and for planning. So I'd like to take a quick moment. I'm going to show you this video, kind of set up a little bit of where my thinking is on this subject. And this one I'd love to give, this is mostly the administration, this group. I'd love to show some in front of teachers. I usually get a good battle out of this one. So we'll see what you think.
The U.S. Department of Commerce ranked 55 industry sectors by their level of IT intensiveness. Education was ranked number 55, the lowest, below coal mining.
For the last 100 years, we've used the industrial narrative. Schools are like factories. It's an administrative process. It's about control and order.
Kids are having a much more stimulating and rich environment outside of school than they are in school.
Kids are very rich content developers today through their social networking sites. They're big communicators through email, instant messaging, and text messaging, and yet all of those things are banned from their schools.
And you turn off the jobs, you potentially turn off jobs.
We have to accept as educators that technology is not doing a choice. It has created a world. This does not here to help you teach traditional subjects. It has invented, has emerged a completely new environment.
It's about relationship, it's about community, it's about connectivity, it's about access.
Children are living now in a different space. They're living in what I call nearly now. And nearly now is that space that they're texting, the space that they're at their Facebook entries, the space that they critically, the space that is not quite synchronous. Now, it's a really interesting space. It's not adversarial, it's not crashing. It's a space where people can, it's all your holidays, they can reflect and retract and research and repeat. It's a great judgment. I tell you what, it's a great world for learning.
If I could remodel a classroom today, I'm not sure it would be a bricks and mortar classroom.
So the student is at the center, and school is just one of the ways and places that they learn. But they also learn through community, at home, in museums, in libraries, and of course, online.
It's about providing the best quality teachers no matter where a student lives and making those bridges.
It's wandering around the city with their cell phones and collecting data that kids will be doing outside of school.
School might be the place where you come together to do joint projects, where your social network, where you can do some of the other kinds of enrichment things.
We've got a classroom system when we could have a community system.
It's about opening the door to NASA resources, to the labs that are being developed online at MIT, and connecting these students to the kinds of opportunities that will fundamentally shift their academic experience and make them better prepared not only for college, but for life.
You start with the teacher. If I want my students to make global connections, then I'm going to give the tools to my teachers first and provide them with opportunities to connect with other teachers around the world or other teachers around the country.
The task is to give teachers a place where they can swap authentic ingredients and the evidence of those ingredients are safe and tested. You know, that doesn't exist anywhere in the world. I've just been part of a big project that I think is going to change that packaging.
We have to develop a narrative that sustains 21st century learning.
If we simply apply standards, if we simply have a steady regime of standardized testing, that will make things better. When in fact, it is economically actually a foolish idea, because the jobs that these kids in school will be having do not call for this kind of right answer vending machine approach.
That future that can fade away, it enables local creativity and innovations.
They will be doing work that calls on their artistic abilities, it calls on their abilities of synthesis, it calls on their abilities of understanding context, it calls on their abilities of working in teams, it calls on their abilities in some sense to be multidisciplinary, multilingual, multicultural.
So the point of the realm is not memorizing the facts that they're going to need to know for the rest of their lives. The point of the realm will be you know how to find information, you know how to validate it, you know how to synthesize it, you know how to leverage it, you know how to communicate it, you know how to collaborate with it, you know how to problem solve it. That's the new 21st century set of literacies. And it looks a lot different than the model that most of us were raised in.
Now we're looking at a whole different range of schools. We're looking at schools that produce genius, collaborative, gregarious, brave children who care about stuff like the culture. And to build schools that do that is a whole another challenge. And around the world, people are testing out the ingredients of what makes that work. And those ingredients are being assembled into some just stunning recipes in different places. It's a very exciting type of learning. It's death of education, but it's the dawn of learning. That makes me very happy.
Comments? Anybody, anything striking on that? I always, the death of education, the dawn of learning is always the interesting one with some teachers. And I speak to find it correctly, but in all honesty, it's reality. It is what is going to happen. We had a great presenter earlier this morning that talked a little bit about what's going to happen in the future. And the only thing I saw that was constant was change. And it was just going to continue to change, and kids who have the skills to deal with that change will be able to deal with the future. Kids who don't can't. Now, this is all great with the kids, and it's good to have an idea of where you're going, but it's the teachers who are going to take us there. And so what's the attitude right now with, I won't say all teachers, because there's a lot of teachers who are very interested in making some changes. But what's the attitude we find in a lot of places? Let me show you. See if this looks at all familiar. This might be your school. I like that one. Okay. That was unfortunately taken in our middle school that feeds into our high school. And I think I'm reticent to say that was probably taken about 3 or 4 months ago and it's sent to me. So, unfortunately, as leaders, maybe we know where we need to go, and there are a lot of teachers who know where we need to go, but there are a lot who absolutely have not a lot of interest. And all the number one thing that I always hear is you don't have time. There's just absolutely no time to worry about any of this stuff. And I know I've been now in the school on a day-to-day basis, and my wife teaches second grade. I totally understand No one's had a raise in 5 years. Well, man, and everybody in North Carolina seems like they've had more and more put upon them with less and less resources. I get that. But part of our problem is, and I see this all the time, we do the repetitive little tasks without any use of technology in a lot of cases. That is starting to change to an extent. However, there is still a lot of loss of productivity. The one talking about how coal mining has implemented more technology than education. Okay, great. That's a wide eye-opener. But that's right. If we can increase that productivity. So in that vein, a lot of what happens in administration, we'll talk about this in a minute, is we go to a conference maybe, and I have been to ISTE, the National Tech Conference, every single year for the past 4 or 5 years. And it's funny when we go as facilitators, but if I take a principal with me, and we put their arms around and kind of start leading around, and we let them go into the vendor area, God knows what we're coming back to, okay? And principals absolutely love to order a bunch of stuff and say, this looks fantastic, go use this. We have to start getting away from that and say, how are we going to use it, and then let's buy the tools. So what's happened, though, is teachers also have to become much more comfortable with using the technology. And one of the ways that we started to do that in Onslow County, we began about 3 years ago, one of our initiatives was to put a laptop in everybody's hands. So the county used capital money and purchased laptops for every teacher, and we're on a 3-year rotational cycle. And we replaced their laptops, and we say to them, okay, we provided you with a laptop because all the research shows that the more comfort they have with using that technology, the more comfortable they are integrating it into their classroom. And I'm taking that a step further across the county. What we're doing at Dixon specifically is we have really started to look at how do we do those data processes with that computer so that they are always engaged with that technology, and in turn will feel much more comfortable engaging in their classroom with that technology. If that comfort level is not there, you can have the greatest programs and the greatest tools in the world, and they will not use them because they are just not comfortable with what they're doing. So we're going to actually try to use a few things with technology. As I do in all my classes, if you have devices, please make sure you have them out, because we will use them. And let me take it. I don't know how many of you have done I don't know how many of you tried Poll Everywhere before, but this is a tool that can be used in the classroom. And I will say as administrators, I cannot preach this enough, and I preach it to mine and the ones across the county. If you want them to do something, you had better be doing it. Okay, if you want them to teach with that device in your classroom, don't conduct a faculty meeting with your handout note. Let's think about going a different way and doing some interactive. This is a great interactive device in the high schools, especially. Almost all of our kids, especially by junior, senior year, all have cell phones, and the fear is all about cell phones. Let me show of hands. How many people have banned cell phones in there? Okay. We have that kind of mixed bag. Some of the high schools have to ban, some don't. We don't, because we were running a program where we actually provided the kids with cell phones as part of an algebra program that worked extremely well. So our thought was, we're going to have cell phones, let's have them around the school. They're going to sneak them anyway, whether we ban them or not, but then can we integrate and use them in class? This is a great way of doing it. My daughter is in the school line of Facilitator Act, and several of her classes, this is how they start the day with a quick question. And they'll do it like this. And how often do most teachers use technology in your classrooms? And I have got, all you do is you can use a cell phone and text a code. You text one of these codes. It's like a multiple choice. Either daily, once a week, occasionally, when kids fly. We have that option for you as well. And you simply text that code to 37607. And then we'll get responses as you text. If you would like on your iPad, I noticed a lot of you had iPads. If you want to go to the wiki I'm working on, It's at the top, ecdea.wikispaces.com, and you'll see the whole wiki. And there's a place to answer on the wiki with this. And ask me questions about this one if you haven't used it before, and I'll tell you a little bit about it. I think it's a great tool. It's one of my favorite kind of tools. It's a free tool. And I'm big into the free. So we use free as much as possible. And you'll see it in some numbers. But we use free as much as possible. There you can buy an upgraded account. You know, we always talk about it in school, we always talk about buying equipment. Sometimes it pays to look at the software programs too. And you can buy an upgraded account. And with that account, you can actually collect information from the kids and store it and go back and look at it later. But just as a quick, did you get what I was talking about? This is great. And this is put into the wiki. I use the wiki as a platform, but you can use either embed codes or links. So if you want to put it in a presentation that you're working on, you'll also make PowerPoint slides. So you can actually make PowerPoint slides that will work with this. And you put them right into a PowerPoint. You're using that. If you're using wikis, if you've got a website, if you want to link stuff up, it will work that way. So we do have a lot of daily. I've been very pleased. No, very, very impressed. All right. Let's try one more with Poll Everywhere. And I do this because, again, I think it's a really good tool to use. Here's another way that you can do it. And again, if you get onto the wiki, there's a click here to answer on your device, and you can answer from your iPad, or if the kids are in a one-to-one environment. But how are you planning to expand technology usage in your school? And you have the text 23719, and then you can text a message to 37607. So if you'd like to try that, I'd encourage you to try that real quick. And you can answer, like I said, on the wiki. I set it up just before we got in here, so I think it's pretty much right. But this is another one. And again, when I had you guys doing it, we did great with the last one, but the kids all can do this fairly well instantly, which is nice. The other thing is, I don't know how much you all do technology purchasing, but I am here to tell you, all the boards of Promethean Smart, if you want to start going and buying those responders, I hope you've got an awful lot of money, because that's not the cheapest thing. Yes, sir? Question? Was anybody able to send it? I'm surprised I haven't sent it. Oh, yep, here we go. Establish PLCs to address tech integration. Absolutely. And don't just word of advice, and tell your teachers this if you showed it at school. Freshmen, sophomores, juniors, and depending on the maturity level, your seniors, don't have it up on the screen while they're sending in answers. It could be a nightmare. Trust me. The funniest one, the first time I did it, was this real good group of kids, but it wasn't anybody put anything wrong on what they put up there, but one of them had a tagline. You know, they all have little taglines on their texting, and it was rather inappropriate. But the poor little girl, she didn't mean to do it. Okay, project-based learning, absolutely. But that's great. Use that one in a meeting, and you'll be surprised. You know, you're going to have, a lot of teachers won't pay too much attention to it. Several teachers will come up and ask, okay, how did you do that? Okay. Next thing I wanted to look at was specifically the main thrust of what I wanted to talk about today was this teacher tools. And I'll explain a little bit about it, and then we'll kind of go through it, and then I want you guys to make it as interactive as possible. You ask me all the questions you'd like to about this. This is a tool, what we found, and I've found this again, in 3 years of just day-to-day operations with my teachers, is you can give them, we all usually, if we send them a new website or something to do, we almost always send them an email. And then they can use it, but then they have to, if they know enough to bookmark it or drag it out on their desktop, which, when I showed people, a lot of them didn't, I had no idea how to do that. They will simply then use it that one time, but maybe then not go back to it. and then they can't find the email, and then they ask you again about the email, and ask their colleagues about the email, and then you've got to look through your 200 emails you're getting every day to try to find all that stuff, and that made it kind of a challenge. And again, the idea was I wanted them to use their technology on a more day-to-day basis and make it as smooth as possible. And this also in part because I am fairly ADD, and so I have a hard time keeping up with those little pieces of paper, so I find organizing everything on the computer and in the cloud works extremely well for me. So I took that to the next level. And what we did here was I used a tool called Symboloo. And for those of you who haven't seen it, it is, again, free. You can buy an upgraded site, but I haven't needed it, and to be honest with you, we use it on a weekly, daily, we use it on a daily basis. But what you do is you open a Symboloo account, and it is basically, it's taking the idea from everybody's gotten used to the apps, where you just press a button and your app comes up. These, each one of the little squares are links, and you can link anything you want into this. If it's got a link on the internet, you can link it in here. So what I did was I built one called Teacher Tools. And in Teacher Tools, that was sent out in the staff meeting. And my principal is very generous for staff meetings. For me, she allows me to do, we do once a month professional development, and she allows it to be the entire day over the course of the planning period. So I only have groups of 10 to 15. Let me tell you, doing stuff with the computers and actually getting them to do stuff, trust me, do not go much over 15, or I promise you, they will not, you cannot do it in a staff meeting of 40, 60, or 80. It is extremely difficult. And what we did was we sent out this Teacher Tools, this one link to everybody on the email, and then I showed them how to drag it out on their desktop. Those of you who've never done that before, it's a lot of fun, really easy. You simply, in this case, since I'm on Google Chrome, it's the little world beside the address. In Internet Explorer, it's usually a little E or it's a little symbol from the company. You just pull that and drag it out onto the desktop, click and hold, drag it down the desktop, and it becomes an icon. So I had everybody put that icon on their laptops, and then suggested they go back and do that on their desktops, and then any computers at home, as well as you can drag it out onto an iPad, a Samsung Galaxy tablet, a phone, whatever you like. From there, all we do when we want to do anything dealing with the internet comes along that they're going to use on a routine basis, we put it on Teacher Tools. All that happens is I get the link, I pop it on Teacher Tools, and send them an email, say I've just updated this on Teacher Tools. And it's automatically there for them in the exact same place. I cannot tell you how much this smooths things out, especially with new teachers. They have one place. They can get their email, they get their website, they get pretty much everything we do with the school right there on the one place. It was extremely gratifying to me here, especially this year. This has been the first year we've really pushed hard with this. It's been extremely gratifying. I will walk around school into different classes, and every one of them will have Teacher Tools minimized in their but minimized in their tray. So I know they are using it on a day-to-day basis. And the one that brings the music to my ears is every time they go to anything that's countywide conferences, everybody is kind of gathered around them. Where did you get that? How do you get all that stuff in one place? So we have begun to implement this across multiple schools. This summer has been a time for a bunch of principals to call and say, hey, come help us set this up at our school. So it's given us a lot of business. That's good. Can't complain. But let me show you a few things. Any questions about Symboloo itself and the idea of Teacher Tools? Pretty straightforward. How many people have seen this before? All right. Then what I did was on several of these, we've used it to use different types of Google Forms to quickly be able to gather and organize a lot of information. And I'll give you a couple of examples, and we'll start with the daily lesson plan form. New administrator this year, and she had the idea when she first came in. I met her last summer. I helped her. I don't know why she was thinking this was going to work out well for her. But she really was very hands-on and she had come up with a form, a piece of paper, that she was going to give to all the teachers and have them photocopy it and write down their lesson plan every day for that day and put it in a box on the door outside their classroom. I'm serious. I appreciate the laughter, but this was her plan, so she could just walk into that room, grab that piece of paper, and walk in and see what was going on. I completely understand that. In my mind, I'm sitting here, you're not going to want to have all these pieces of paper, or this doesn't make a lot of sense. And then you don't have it later on, if you really want to store how many three pieces of paper times 180 days in these folders, or anybody wants to keep up with this paper. I saw trees, whole forests going down this entire thing. So I'm thinking, how can we do this? So what we did was we just built a real quick Google form. And for those of you who haven't used Google Forms before, that's another free service from Google. You just sign up for a Google Docs account. And we built a daily form that looked like this. And the teachers would simply check it from any computer around, and you can copy and paste it all of these. So a lot of them already have their lesson plans in Word documents or whatever, and they would select whoever the teacher was. I made a huge mistake, and I realized we're going to fix it this summer, is I put poor Mr. Ball up first. So everybody who forgot to check the teacher, Mr. Ball's got lesson plans from Chinese, and he does not teach Chinese. He has food lessons, he does not teach food. So I learned to leave that blank. They put in their class subject, the periods that apply, the date of the lesson, and then objectives, measurable objectives, teaching instructional strategies, review and assessment, and they hit submit. It all goes right back to one spreadsheet. Let's go back. All right, it all goes back to one spreadsheet, and then they can go back and look on their spreadsheet. They can't edit it. I didn't realize that was one problem. I had to explain to the administrator right up front, spelling errors, that kind of stuff. Please don't fault them. They can't edit it. So once it's in, think of it as a rough draft of a lesson. And then you pull up. This takes a second to come up. It's kind of big. I haven't cleaned it all out yet. And they'll have the lesson plan for the teachers. If I drag across a little bit, this usually also shows on one screen. You simply pick the teacher. So I'll pick on Mr. Henderson here. And only his lesson plan is coming. So then you can see what date you're looking at, the lesson plan, and she can do all that from her iPad. So she has teacher tools on her iPad. She walks into a classroom, her campus is wireless. She walks into the classroom, presses the button on her teacher tools, which is down on her, right there on the front page of her tablet. Hits this button and picks which teacher she's looking at, and she's got all her lesson plans right in front of her. So whatever school she's walking into, there's no grab the paper. She has it all. I can sort it all and give it to them at the end of the year, so they will have it every bit for planning for next year. They can copy and paste into the stuff, so they can just rearrange. My big thing is once it's digital, you don't have to retype it. Copy and paste. I love copy and paste. So this one has worked out very well, and everybody. Did we have some resistance? Did I have people say, yes, I wanted, how do you give me the paper? Come on. Did they have a problem with it after about the first 2 or 3 weeks of doing it? Not at all. In fact, most of them really liked it. And a bunch of them said, hey, we already had this stuff typed out. We just copy and paste right off of our Word document right into the format she wants. She's going to modify this slightly. This is, I guess, being the second year. She's going to be willing to go and let them do, and she modified it. She let them do kind of weekly plans as they want. So, but they would put that information in. It's readily accessible. Yes, ma'am.
Is it possible for the administrator to put any feedback on this and return it to the teacher?
Not right here because everybody will be able to see it, so you wouldn't want to do it. See, everybody can see everybody listening. Really, nobody had an issue with that. They don't.
Teaching the same thing I would see.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. You sure could. You sure could. So that works out. And like I said, I honestly, after the first couple of weeks and first few times people doing it, had literally no complaints. And trust me when I tell you, I am the first person to get the complaints when something doesn't work right. So I promise you I would have heard, and it was not much of an issue at all. Now, the only hard part I will have to tell you is writing. The way Google Forms puts it in, they put it in columns, and you can see all the columns. This very first one is actually a pretty long formula. put all those columns into one thing so they can see it. That's why it looks like that. It's not that bad. I've been married for about 20 years and I have kids, so I'm just sitting at home on Saturday night, so I figured out how to do it. But that is something that they really liked. Now, another thing that we do is, so we went to the employee portal. How many of you all have gone to that? You've gone to a system where everything's on direct deposit. And so we put that so they can check their pay. Everybody's familiar with McCredit. So we put their system right on there. CCAS was one I didn't originally put on, but the EC people came and said, hey, how about CCAS? I was standing in the hall while I did it. So it's nice because it doesn't take but a minute and then everybody has it. Again, with my principal, love her heart, she likes to know what's going on and she tells great stories about why she needs to know what's going on. In her last school, there was crazy people. So she has a few things. She doesn't like to have guest speakers without having a request. Well, again, I looked through the handbook. She had a paper form. She wanted you to hand in the paper form, and then you checked off the paper form and put it back in the teacher's box. Well, come on. There's got to be a better way to do that. So we simply did a form. They put in the information from the form. She has a spreadsheet, and she can check to approve it or not. And they see it as soon as she checks it. And I may have emptied this one already. I did. Archive. So they would put what you want, and right here, she would check the box to show that it was approved or not, and they know they can give it.
Does it send her a message that says you're in there?
Whoever sets it up, I will tell you how this works. Since I'm the one who set it up, I actually get the email, and I just forward it right to her. If you're the one who sets it up, yes, you can set it and send you a trigger. So anytime there's an entry, it just shoots you an email, and you know to go check it. Don't do that with the lesson plan form. It will fill up your inbox. We did the same thing with video permissions. We did similar with media. Well, let me talk to you about this. We did similar things with concession and gate duty. And let me see if our gate duty sign. Yeah, this is a Google spreadsheet, but I opened it up publicly, which means you can restrict access on Google Docs to those people who you want to access, or you can open it up publicly so everybody can access it. We just opened it up publicly, put it on there, and said, now, folks, go sign up. Because I walked through the office and I saw the sign-up sheet by the secretary. I said, come on, let's do this a little different. So we put it on. She already had the spreadsheet, so I just loaded it in here and put a space for the teachers to put their names. And they would just click, log on, and put their names where they wanted to for what they wanted to do. And we do get revision history. So if somebody comes to me and says, hey, somebody took me off such and such, I could go back and look. I can't tell exactly who did it, by the way, unless we have them protected and it's all shared within Google. But I can at least tell the administrator to change it.
Can you have more than one person on there at the same time?
Yes, all you want. Multiple people. And I'm sorry, my last slides over there, which I wasn't sure about the wireless. I've had a few little issues here and there, so I didn't grab a bunch of devices. But yeah, you open one of these spreadsheets up and make it public, and everybody who's in the room can start typing in. You just can't type in the same cell at the exact same time, but you can type in right below it, right above it.
So what happens if somebody is typing the same thing?
Whoever got to it first, they just have to wait a minute and then they can do it. So usually with a couple survey, it wasn't usually an issue.
I've also learned on this, we use this, you have to unshare it, otherwise people like the day or the event and they'll do it somewhere.
That's right, and you can do it.
I give a
If you want to get a window, let them sign up, share, and then you can just go change it back to protected, then nobody can do it. Right. Also, though, anytime you want to do it, you can go back and see the revision. Right.
Is that all for the Google?
It's Google, and all free again. Told you I love it. Okay. Now, here's a great one. It was one of our first impetuses to create this situation besides the lesson plan thing. Because again, she was going to have boxes drilled into every one of those lesson plans. Anyway. Be crazy. So what we did was, one of the things that I noticed is where our school is getting quickly overcrowded. We are going to be adding several mobile learning cottages very soon. We're in a high-growth area. And I don't actually have an office, so I'm in a conference room right behind the guidance area where the kids come in and check out every day. So I saw that she had a long list where all the kids would come in and check out, and she'd give them a note to take to the teacher. And then I noticed throughout the day they might come back a little bit later because they lost the note or somebody didn't get the note, they wanted to check out, and teachers would send stuff around, hey, where is such and such kid? They'd check out, and I'd see emails starting to fly around. I said, well, this isn't a real organized way to do this. Let's do this where we have some kind of record of what's happening. And we developed what was called the school check-in and check-out. And all I did was took an old laptop, a B610, just any old laptop that really wouldn't do a whole lot more. I wired it in, so we put it right in the Ethernet cable because the wireless wasn't super fast, but you could do it with wireless. And I did a Google form, and on that Google form, I can't show you right now, but on a Google form, it comes up, and that's all we have on that computer basically, right there in the guy's desk where they used to sign a piece of paper, and the kid puts in last name, first name, and then if they're checking in or checking out, and then who's checking in and checking out and what reason. And it goes very quickly, even when they check on the parents come check them out, we have them all do this process. And then what we get is this. They all have a button on Teacher Tools, and they can click it anytime they want, and they get the list. So we try to keep it cleaned out kind of on a weekly basis. You see here, we have it. I've got some filter stuff. But the instant that child checks out or checks in, it gives a date, a time stamp, and this is what they would go by. And then last and first, and then I've got it red or green for checking in or checking out, the reason and with whom. And so the teachers can immediately go, and there's a filter part. You see there are filters up there. The teachers can immediately go, look at the kid's name and see exactly what happened. I finally figured out, my principal got on me enough, I haven't done it yet, here we're going to do it. I finally figured out in Google, all the form submits go in and they're time stamped, and they're in descending order. From the last, so the last thing to be done goes at the bottom. There is a way to flip that. So you can flip it over so the newest thing comes to the top. That was a long time to figure out, but it's not the easiest thing to do. I'll try to put that up on this. I was going to put a little last resource page. I've got a little wiki on doing Google Docs. I'll try to put that part in there too this weekend. And that allows it just to go right up. So the first thing they can look, they know exactly what time that kid checked in. If you have a big campus, they check in one place, you can see exactly what time they checked in. They say, okay, great, why did it take you 15 minutes to walk over? And they all have their computers on all the time, and this is real time. I don't know any teacher, for the most part, who doesn't at least have the thing on and running. So they can check it. They check it from, again, works great from an iPad. I had an iPad, and did a lot of this with that in mind, because my principal loves an iPad. So I wanted to make it easy for the people to do. Questions about check-in, check-out? This is one that's really been copied quite a bit. Did the same thing similarly for the media center, so the kids could check in and check out of the media center. So teachers didn't feel like they were sending them away, and they come back 30 minutes later, and you don't really know whether they went to the media center. Not the high school, but just in case. All right, we put our mail on here. Onslow Connect do some different programs. Our NCYs, we did NCYs training, which is a series, it's a wiki that I built when we did the trainings for all of our elementary schools to show them how to do grades in NCYs, and it has videos on how to do everything in NCYs. So feel free to take that one and use it if you'd like to. I've tracked, we did the rollout the end of the first 9 weeks this last year for our elementary schools. And I checked the wiki statistics, and around the time of grading, we were getting 100, 150 hits a day on this thing, and even some more. And by my estimation, that saved 100 to 150 emails to people not knowing what was going on. So that was the case. We're doing the training and leaving them something to look at, paid off big time later on. But it's got videos, so we just invent stuff, then stay in them. But put it together in a way that made it really easy for them to find. Is everybody familiar with NC Falcon? I know they don't call it Falcon this year. It's called a change. I hope you like my little play on the NC Falcon. Several of my teachers thought that was quite amusing. It's the Millennium Falcon. It's up top. We have Rubicon. We do computer problems if we have those issues. The PEP forms, it's not a PEP system, it's a form. Another thing I did, and this is very rough, and I haven't cleaned it up at all, so I want to apologize right away. But all the professional development I did, I put on one wiki on this, and each professional development would be a new tab. So they could go back and see how many times did they come have professional development with you, and they never look at this stuff again. This is all in one place, so they say, hey, I missed this, let me go back and really quick get it. Everything is an attempt to make all that information really quick and accessible to them and useful on a daily basis, so that hopefully we'll cut back that time of, let me search for this, let me ask somebody for this. I'm trying to minimize that so they have more time and are getting more and more used to the technology. And we'll tell you, through things like this, teachers have implemented much more in their classroom than Google Forms, different kinds of projects, because they've gotten used to seeing and doing this. We did Classcape on this too. I have a version called Student Tools, that Dixon Web 2.0 Tools, assembly for the kids, and I put that on the website. And Classcape is on that. There's several things on it that you usually have to go to. So no matter where they are, what computer we're in the school, we can just go to the website, click on that, this comes up. So I don't have to give them addresses to go to. I can just go exactly to what I want to do. Okay? Questions on any of this before we've done? All right. We'll try a little quick feedback, and then I'll end up with something I hopefully will give you a little chuckle. I'm just getting used to this pad. There we go. All right, this is a Google form, and if you've gone to this, if you've gone to the wiki, the ECDEA, it's on the feedback tab. How could you use this technology in your school? You simply click in here and type whatever you want and hit submit. So if we can get a few people to participate, and I'll show you real quick how it comes up. So the ecdea.wikispaces.com, and you can simply type in this square. I use this a lot with kids too in class. You don't want to type in a paper in here, but any kind of paragraph feedback up to a couple of paragraphs works great. No problem at all. And they just hit submit. And then I'll show you the form that comes back in. To save time and save trees. You'll see as people put stuff up, it immediately comes back. This is a great tool for the classroom. If you use it in meetings in professional development, they will be more likely, maybe, unless they have that sign on their door with no technology. But it does work. It comes very fast. And again, once you have this information, I love to do this and talk about a certain subject. How many of you have ever seen Wordle? Makes word clouds. I love to do this, have them talk about a subject. Then you just copy and paste that information out from what they type in, right into Wordle, and it instantly generates a word cloud, and you can pick out the main points. You really quickly start to see the main themes and main points that they're talking about. It's very interesting to do. All right. Now, let me end with something here. Just Google that. You go and you create a form, and you get several themes you can pick from. And you get to type in all kinds of questions. So you can do, like, choose from a list, multiple choice, let me give you a word of advice on that. And I found this out the hard way. If you want to sort something, like you notice I wanted to sort the lesson plans by teachers, I put their names in on choose from a list. That way I didn't get any kind of mistakes with how it was done. They were always choosing their name. It made it so much easier on the sort. It was not a lot of fun. I didn't know. Absolutely. Great way to bring it. You usually a lot of ways I'll get feedback. Get right. All right. Now, the issue here is as we talk more and more, we look at all this curriculum, are we preparing students for what the world is going to be like? Or are we preparing them to go to this kind of university?
I find that education, I think it don't matter where you go to school, Italy, America, Brazil, it's all the same. It's all just memorization. And it don't matter how long you can remember anything, just so you can carry it back for the test. And I got this idea for a school I would like to start. Something called the 5-minute university. And the idea is that in 5 minutes, you learn what the average college graduate remembers 5 years after he or she's out of school. Would it cost like $20? That might seem like a lot of money, $20 just for 5 minutes. But that's for like a tuition, cap and gown rental, graduation picture, snacks, everything included. You know, like in college, you have to take foreign language. Well, at the 5-minute university, you can have your choice. Any language you want, you can take. Say if you want to take Spanish, what I teach you is, ¿Cómo está usted? That means, how are you? And the answer is, muy bien. Means very well. And believe me, if you took 2 years of college Spanish, 5 years after you're out of school, ¿Cómo está usted? Muy bien. What all are you going to remember? So in my school, that's all they learn. You see, you don't have to waste your time with conjugations, vocabulary, all that junk. You just forget it anyway. Now what's the difference? Economics, supply, and demand. That's it. Business is you buy something and you sell it for more. Theology, I'm going to have a theology department, since I'm a Christian, all right. And what you have to learn in theology is the answer to the question, where is God? And the answer is, God is everywhere. Why? Because he likes you. That's kind of a combination of the Disney and Roman Catholic philosophy. It's just perfect for the late 70s, early 80s, Just perfect. Well, after the courses are over, then it's time for a little Easter vacation. No time to go to Fort Lauderdale. Only lasts like 20 seconds. But what I do for you, I like to turn on the sun lamp. I give you a little glass of orange juice. That's in the snack part, orange juice. And then after vacation, after it's swallowed a little quick, then it's a time for the final exams. I say to you, ¿Cómo está usted? You say, muy bien. Where is God? God is everywhere. Economics, supply and demand. Then I put on your cap and gown. I get out my Polaroid camera. Make a little snap flash pictures for you. I give you the picture. You give me $20. I give you the diploma, and you're a college graduate, ready to go. I'm not sure, but I'm pretty sure, right next door to the 5-minute university, I'm going to open up a little law school. You got another minute?
All right, guys. Thank you all so much for your time today. I appreciate it. I hope we've given you some tools that you'll be able to take back and use in these schools. Thank you all.